Welcome to Anthropology 3253, Anthropology of Religion, and also known as Magic and Religion. They are both the same course. I am your instructor, Professor John Gilmore, and I am glad to have you in this class. We'll start out with a question, and the question is, what is religion? I want to start off by saying that this course may be a course in something that may not even exist. And why did I say that? Well, not all societies have a word for religion. Admittedly, we are looking at various cultures from the outside and identifying particular behaviors and actions as being religious, where in many cultures, as we'll discover, they don't even have a separate word for religion because it's a part of their everyday life. And they don't make the distinctions that oftentimes we do in Western culture. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. When it comes to the study of religion, one of the things that we know is that the approach to studying religion can vary based upon the disciplines that are involved. The search for truth, seeing whether or not the truth claims of various religions stand up on some standard or another, is the concern of the fields of theology and philosophy. They spend a great time looking at the truth claims of one religion versus another, evaluating them, and that is what those two disciplines are mostly concerned with. However, that's not all. There are several disciplines that look at religion from a descriptive and explanatory standpoint. In other words, they're looking at how people behave, describing those things, and also offering reasons why people do particular things. The fields that study from this particular perspective include history, sociology, psychology, and of course, anthropology. And in this course, we are concerned with the descriptive and explanatory study of religion. We're not concerned with the truth claims of a religion. We're not looking at and searching for truth, but we're looking at how people behave and our definition of those particular behaviors, beliefs, customs, and traditions in terms of being religious. Let's look at the types of religion that we'll study in this. First, we study prehistoric religion. That is religion that existed before there were written records. We know that from the very beginning of humankind that people practiced things that we deem to have been religious behavior. There are many things that we have discovered from the archaeological record that lead us to believe these things. Hence, we see this statue fertility figurine on the left and Stonehenge on the right. Both of those we know had very strong connections with people and their beliefs about being connected to something, whether it was to be able to reproduce and to have bountiful crops, not only crops, but also reproduce other humans, or whether in the case of Stonehenge, offering again a connection with the surroundings and possibly with the solar system and their understanding of that. There's ancient religion, which we would look at as religion that is quite old as well. There's written record for it. We look often to either Egyptian religion or Hindu religion or even older religions from that have been around for a very long time and continue to be a source of study for us even today. The religion of small-scale societies and indigenous religions of small-scale societies is another area in which we study. We will spend a lot of our time in this course looking at those particular religions. It has been a part of the bread and butter, if you will, or the backbone of the anthropology of religion for a very, very long time. And then, of course, there are world religions we're familiar with. These are very large groups of religious adherents that have been around for a long time. Everything from Hinduism to Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Vodun, but very, very well-established world religions. In this course, we'll not spend a lot of time on world religions. We'll touch upon them from time to time. But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our concern, a lot of our study will be on the religion of small-scale societies. I want to take a moment as we begin this course to talk about what I like to call looking at religion through Christian-colored glasses. That is to acknowledge the fact that whether you personally are a Christian or not, because we live in a culture and in a society that has been and continues to be heavily influenced by Christianity, when we think about religion and religious terms, religious settings, and many, many other things, we do so influenced by Christianity. And Christian language, Christian thoughts, Christian holidays, all of those things very heavily influence culture here in the United States, in the West, and that is something that we have to acknowledge and to talk about. And even though there are reports of the decline of Christianity in a lot of places, the University of Memphis is located in the American South, and that remains to be one of the places where religion has a stronghold. And many things happen to color our experience. And those of you that are living in the South or have had experience in the South well know the role it plays, religion plays, particularly Christianity, in the lives and the well-being of people. We'll start off by the idea that for many people, religion is a matter of belief. People take that view that it's a matter of behavior, and that belief is expressed through spoken declarations, public declarations, ritual speech, being faithful, many times signing a particular pledge to uphold certain religious doctrines, to be supportive of certain theological or ideological positions, but belief oftentimes we associate with religion. Got another question for you. Can you be both a devout Hindu and an evangelical Christian? The answer is probably no, particularly from the perspective of evangelical Christianity, but also other world religions, and we would include Hinduism in that. And that is because we have the idea, in most cases, that a person can only profess or adopt one religion at a time. This is particularly the predominant belief in world religion. The whole idea of conversion, that conversion equals change. And when a person adopts a particular religion, they convert to that religion, or they were even born in that religion, and that is what they maintain their beliefs and practices at the time. Now, we also know while exclusive identity is stressed, that people do and very often have the beliefs and practices that can be diverse. And we'll talk about that in this course and talk about that much later. Another aspect that is heavily influenced from Christians' perspective is the idea that religion represents a separate realm. We often hear the talk about the sacred and the secular, or the sacred and the profane. There being particular days that are set aside for religion. There are particular things that have been prohibited because of religion. We know that there, for a very long time, We had the so-called blue laws, again, particularly in the American South, where stores were closed. There were certain things that you couldn't buy or do on a Sunday because that was considered a holy day. And so religion representing a separate realm. And we know the whole idea and the discussion and the debate about creationism versus evolution versus intelligent design and science, and religion again somehow being separate from those particular expressions. If you go to a community and you see a large number of religious buildings, whether they are churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, you usually will come away with the view that that's a highly religious community. That is because for many people, the idea of religion is associated with a building, some type of structure that is dedicated to religious purposes or religion-related activities such as education. And people go away with that particular view of a community. Another area that we often will talk about when it comes to religion is the idea among many people that religion is more concerned about transcendental matters than those things that are practical, like healing or curing or food production. What we mean by this is that the belief is that religion is about the worship of deities, pleasing deities, about the stories and things surrounding them, or about ritual activities, those being the main concern of religion, it being involved in those matters rather than other things. Whereas in other societies, very often when a person becomes ill, they will go to their religious specialist for healing or curing. To ensure a successful crop, again, they will call upon their religious specialist to use a particular ritual or a particular practice in order to bring about a successful harvest, successful planting. We know that often, too, people look at religion as being the basis of morality. Very often, the discussions about moral issues in society are based on religion. Religion forms the language and controls the narrative when it comes to those particular things. The belief that there's a divine concern for human behavior and a reward and punishment for proper or improper human behavior as a result. We'll see, particularly among world religions, the moral codes are tied to them. This has been a look at religion from Christocentric glasses. We now turn to the idea of themes in religion in this course. The first, we'll talk about diversity between religions. Of course, we surely know that religions are not the same. There are differences, and I will say that we respect those differences. That's an important point in this course, that we respect the religious beliefs and practices, customs, and traditions of all of the religions, the diversity. We give it our respect, and we will look at how there are differences between religions. There's also diversity within religions. While you can have a particular religious system, let's say if we take Hinduism, for example, one of the world religions, there's a great deal of diversity within Hinduism itself, depending upon very often the locale, depending upon the particular country or the particular customs or traditions, we'll find that. We know in Christianity that to be the case. We look at the various denominations that are part of Christianity. We see that in Judaism. We see that in many of the world religions. There's diversity within religions in addition to diversity between religions. When we look at a society, we will see very often that the values of that society are reflected in religion. Religion very strongly integrates into its surrounding culture. That ties back into the idea, one of the important ideas of anthropology that we'll cover, and that is the idea of holism. That if we want to understand culture, we have to look at all parts of a culture because they're interconnected and mutually influencing. The modularity of religion refers to the idea that there are religious and non-religious cognates. In other words, we talk about things such as religious rituals, but there are also non-religious rituals. We talk about religious violence, but there's also non-religious violence. That not all modules in a religion are religious, but religion may integrate non-religious components like politics, economics, gender, technology, and popular culture in them. Relativity of language. Language is extremely important to religion. It is one of the modes of transmission of religion, and many of the factors of religion would not exist without language. We will look at how, again, religion functions from the perspective of language. We'll describe and analyze it. And we also recognize that religious terms are rarely neutral, nor are they universal. What one term may mean in one religion may not mean the same in another. Prayer being an example. And when we talk about categories of religious behavior, we'll look, for example, at the various aspects of prayer as practiced by different religions across cultures. The local and practice nature of religion. We mentioned about internal diversity of religion. Religion will vary based on different times and places. And depending upon where we are looking at a particular religion, it can be a part of the same religious family, but very different from what's practiced by many others.